Okay, you completed the registration process. You'll receive an email that has a web page address. On your cell phone or your desktop or both, bookmark that address, and then you won't have to go back to the login. Every time you just click on that bookmark and it can come up. The first step you got to do to actually make the program work for you is enter in your field information. The good thing about that is you only have to do it one time. So say in 2014, I started using this program. It rolled over in 2015 and 2016, so I didn't have to do that. What I'm going to show you now is a one-step thing that to do it one time. On the left-hand side here, the fourth button down is Add Field, and you can do this on your cell phone or your desktop like I'm doing it. The good thing about the desktop is with keyboard and things like that, and it's a little bit easier than your cell phone. You do Add Field, and we need to know the latitude and longitude of your field because the National Weather Service, we're using a rainfall grid. You can use rain gauges and enter in your actual amount of field, but the whole idea is to save time. So if the Weather Service gives a fairly close estimate of the rainfall of that field, that'll save you time in the long run. So type in the field name, and I'll call it just test here. And then click on Find Locations using Google Maps. You see this is Missouri right here. I live close to Portersville, so I'm going to zoom in right here. Okay, this is the Delta Center office right here. And this is one of my center pivot fields. So I click in the middle of it, and it's a little push button, and then I go up here and I click use the marker coordinates. So that automatically enters in the latitude and longitude my field, which I need for my rainfall. And then you can either put in just a soil texture, which is sand, silt or clay, or silt loam, whatever, and go that route. Or if you work with NRCS, they can give you the mapping unit for that field. Now, bear in mind, there's a lot of fields, or a lot of soil types in the state of Missouri. There's over 8,000 of them. But I'm going to scroll on down to, let's see, Dundee Silty Clay Loam. I click on that, say that's my field, and type in there and do Submit. That completes the setup process. The thing that you do one time, but each year, of course, the same field could be in corn this year and cotton next year and soybeans, so we don't know that, so we'll have to put that in information there, and also we need to know the planting date and things like that. So this information goes in the Setup Soils and Crops. So I click on Setup Soils and Crop, and see I've got quite a few of them here. I'm going to scroll down to Rhodes Farm Field 1. In this case, I've already entered in my planting date. For you, first time you would ask you what the planting date is. You can estimate. You say I have an idea when I'm going to plant. I usually plant around the middle of April or something like that. But if you enter in a date and it turns out not to be correct, and you have to go back and delete that. So it will say December the 31st, and then you can go ahead and enter in this other information if you want to, and then later on put in your planting date. So I mentioned that we're using soil water balance as deposits and debits, just like a checkbook. The soil water balance is either 0 or a negative number. If it's at field capacity or good moisture content for crop growth, we say that the balance is 0, and then it starts subtracting from that, and if you have a rainfall or irrigation, it brings it back to 0, something close to that. So we start off the season, and unless you've had a really dry spring, you would leave that at 0. The rooting depth, that's affected by things like soil compaction or natural pans in soil. If you don't have a compacted soil and you have a good rooting depth, most of the time most crops will grow down 18, 24 inches or something like that, some of them even deeper than that. The reason this is important is that it affects the trigger. If you say that it's a really deep-rooted crop, but you really have a lot of compaction, say you've had land grading or something like that, and your plants are restricted in root growth, then they'll start stressing quicker than the program thinks it is. So I'm going to leave this one at 18. Sprinkler, yes or no. If it's furrow irrigated or flood irrigated, you'd say no. If it's center pivot or lateral, say yes. The default irrigation is that's intended to be a time-saving feature for the farmer. Say you have a field that you almost always irrigate the same amount. If I irrigate more than that, I get a lot of runoff. So I know if I put 2 inches, a lot of it's going to run off. So I'll back that off a little bit. So you can put this amount in, and then when you're actually doing the irrigation, it would automatically bring that up. And then if you don't irrigate that same amount, then you just change it at that time. And then maximum allowed depletion 50% here. For most crops, I'd leave it at that. If you have something like rice that if you're growing at non-flooded, say center pivot or furrow, then rice stress is really easy. You would probably want that to be a smaller amount. Basically what this is think of the soil as a fuel tank. You don't want to run your tank empty. You want to irrigate before the plant actually stresses. And what we found most of the time, 50% of the allowable depletion is about right for most crops. The other buttons here are yes and no for rainfall, National Weather Service rainfall. What that's doing is you're telling the program, yes, go ahead and enter in what the National Weather Service says, rainfall is my field. And if I have rain gauges and I find that the Weather Service under-predicted or over-predicted amount or estimated the rainfall that I had, then I can go in and change that then. But at least it goes ahead and fills in the program, and it can save you time in the long run not having to do that yourself. So then you click Submit to do that. Okay, I'll go back to, okay, at this stage, you've added your fields, and you can go ahead and add more fields at this point if you want to, and then go through and repeat the steps of the planting date for each of your fields. These top buttons up here, field status and farm summary, these are what you're going to use for actually doing day-to-day decisions on irrigations. The process of setting up the latitude and longitude takes our server in Columbia about 24 hours to do. So I ask you for your patience at this point. If you've set all this up, I would wait till tomorrow before I ever start looking at the other screens, because these will show that the fields are inactive and you've already entered in your information. You think, well, gosh, I ought to have something showing right now, but it just takes that long for our program to make all the linkage with the National Weather Service to get that done. So either go ahead and enter all your other fields at this point, or just wait till tomorrow and come back to your page, and then you'll be ready to go.